custodian of the country we are meeting today. We pay our respect to elders past, present and emerging, and we also extend that respect to all the First Nation people present today. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests, and a warm welcome to the Australian Politics 2023 New South Wales State Election. I am Julian Lee, the Vice President of Calling Businessman Association, Voice Korean Australian Businesses, and I am delighted to be one of your MC for tonight's event. I am not a professional MC, so I hope you understand if I make small mistakes. Our goal is to bring together politicians, candidates, and members of Korean Australian and multicultural communities to help them understand upcoming 2023 New South Wales state election, which is taking place on 25th of March. We wanted to provide a platform for voters to learn about the policies and plans for Australian two major parties, political parties. We also hope this event provides valuable opportunity for our political representatives to connect with and inspire our community. The Korean community leaders in Sydney who has been supportive also attended today's event. Mr. Gabriel Kang, the Australian Korean Society of Sydney and New South Wales, Mr. William Seung of Korean Australian Community Support, Mr. Dong Shik-go, the Peaceful Unification Advisory Council of Australia, Mr. Luke Song, Australian Korean War Memorial Park Foundation, Mr. Jubek Kyung, the Federation of Korean Society of Oceania, Mr. Jae Ko of Korean Chamber of Commerce Right, Mrs. Esther Kim, Australia Korean Cultural Exchanges, and of course, the Miss Jung Hae Kim of Overseas Korean Foundation. We are also pleased to have a diverse group of media professionals with us today, including journalists from SBS Korea, YTN, TWT, Koreatown, My Life, Hano Daily, Korean Business Monthly, and Christian Review. Also famous YouTuber jopd is also attended, will provide coverage of today's event. I'd like to introduce Mr. Patrick Cha, President of Calling Businessman Association, Voice of Korean Australian Businesses for welcoming remarks.
반갑습니다. I am Patrick Cha, the President of Calling Businessman Association. Calling Businessman Association, the voice of Korean Australian businesses, established in 2006, aimed to foster economic, social, and political activities in Australia and connect Korean Australian entrepreneurs. We are proud to continue promoting greater political awareness and participation among the Australian community. After the success of a previous event, Do You Know Australian Politics 2022, We are thrilled to continue our effort to educate and engage voters about the future of our state. This election can significantly impact our future, and we are honored to be part of this vital conversation. 오늘 이 자리에 참석해 주신 교민사회 리더 여러분, 그리고 코리안 오스트레일리안 보터 여러분께 진심으로 감사드립니다. Also, I'd like to extend my deep thanks to the speakers from both the Liberal and the Labour parties who have taken their time out of their busiest schedule to come to this event once again. And they are Liberal Party, the Honorable Dominello is not coming yet. Is he on his way? Yeah.
Very fashionable.
Still
working.
And the Honorable Domain Tudor, member of the Legislative Council. And the Honorable Dr. Jeffrey, the member for Parramatta. The Honorable Scott Barlow, member of the Legislative Council. Here. And the City of Right Mayor Sakis Yadaline was here. Yay! And the City of Right Deputy Mayor Sweta Despande. And the Councillor Jordan Lane, the candidate for Right. The Councillor Daniel Han, City of Right. And the Councillor Sophie Laura Watson, the City of Right. And the Miss Katie Mullins, candidate for Parramatta. And the John Paul Blady, candidate for Strasbourg. And from the Labour Party, Jerome Laksa, member for Benalong, and Miss Celicito, and the member for Reed. And Miss Furuka, member for Londonderry, New South Wales Deputy Leader of the Opposition. And Mr. Jason Yassan Lee, member for Strasbourg. Thank you. And the City of Parramatta Lord Mayor Donna Davis, candidate for Parramatta. And the Councillor Charles Song, the City of Right. Thank you. And the Councillor Bernard Person, the City of Right. And the Miss Linda Howiston, candidate for Right. Thank you. 우리가 정치를 잘 모르고 정치에 관심이 없는 것은 호주와 같은 정치 선진국에서는 뭐 크게 문제가 되지 않을 수도 있습니다, 사실. 하지만 다음 주에 있을 선거에 우리가 후보가 누군지도 모르고 내가 투표하는 정당이 뭘 하는 정당인지도 모르고 투표를 한다는 것은 또 다른 문제라고 생각합니다. 이는 마치 낯선 여행지에 가서 우리가 우리의 관광 가이드를 고를 적에 그 관광 가이드가 내가 싫어하는 사막으로 데려가될지 아니면 내가 좋아하는 바다로 데려갈지도 묻지도 듣지도 않고 그를 따라가는 것과 마찬가지라고 생각됩니다. 그래서 우리가 이번에 또 저희 콜링맨에서 이 행사를 마련했습니다. 다음 3년간 우리를 원하는 곳으로 데려가줄 후보와 소속 정당에게 다음 주에 있을 선거에서 소중한 한 표를 행사하는데 이 자리가 조금이라도 도움이 되었으면 합니다. 본 행사를 위해서 애써주신 양당 관계자 여러분, 그리고 우리 콜링맨 멤버이신 찰스 송강호 시의원님, 그리고 데니엘 한정태 시의원님, 또 우리 콜링맨 멤버 여러분, 여기 배지를 달고 계신 콜링맨 멤버 여러분, 그리고 자원봉사자, 오늘 음식을 만드시라고 고생하신 우리 제일 어디 계시죠? 켈리 초이, 고맙습니다. 네, 그리고 늘 힘내어 주시는 재외동포재단, 그리고 홍보를 도와주신 여러 미디어, 코리안 미디어께 감사드립니다. 네, 감사합니다.
Thank you, Mr. Chan. Now, two talented musicians from Session Mission Orchestra, Ms. Anna An, the concert master, and pianist Ranju Lee, they will be performing two very special Australian songs that hold much meaning for us. We call Australia home and watching Matilda. Let's give them a huge round of applause. So it was so beautiful performance. These songs are so special to us because they capture the essence of being Australian, accepting everyone, sticking together, having pride in our nation. Now I'm pleased to introduce Councillor Charles Song and Councillor Daniel Han, two young and handsome Korean Australian councillors from the Right Council. They will brief us on the role of local, state and federal governments and explain the importance of upcoming state election. Thank you.
이거 하시는 분한테 DJ하겠습니다. 안녕하십니까. 저는 현재 라이드에서 의원직을 맡고 있는 송강호 정직원 인사드리겠습니다. Acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we meeting today, and I pay my respect to the elders past, present, and emerging. 먼저 오늘 이 행사를 주관해 주신 콜링 비즈니스맨 여러분께 모두 제가 노고를 알기 때문에 너무 감사드리는 말씀을 전하고요. 그리고 또 기빈 여러분께도 참석해서 정말 감사드립니다. 지금 짧은 시간이 저한테 주어졌는데 최대한 말을 좀 빨리 할 테니까 혹시라도 못 알아듣시더라도 양해 부탁드리고, 지난 1년 반 동안 지금 저희 뭐 지방선거, 연방선거, 뭐 라이드시의 경우는 지금 보궐선거도 했고요. 그리고 주선거까지 거의 1년 반 동안 지금 이번 선거가 4번째인데 뭐 이 나라는 맨날 뭐 선거만 하냐 할 정도로 지금 걱정을 하셔도 딴 뭐 말을 못할 정도로 지금 선거가 많은데, 오늘 또 그럼에도 불구하고 지금 날씨가 되게 굳은데도 불구하고 많이 참석해 주신 모든 분들께 정말 다시 한번 감사의 말씀을 드리겠습니다. 제가 오늘 후보자들 연설에 앞서서 후보자분들이 얘기하는 게 좀 이해를 쉽게 하기 위해서 몇 분 안 된 짧은 시간이지만 제가 최대한 호주 정부가 어떤 식으로 이루어졌는지 간략하게 한번 설명을 드리도록 할게요. 먼저 호주 정부는 크게 뭐 3가지로 다시 나눠져 있는데, 지방 정부, 로컬 가면, 주정부, 스테이트 가면, 연방 정부, 페더럴 가버먼트죠. 그래서 제 경우에는 로컬 가버먼트고 제가 카운슬러로 활동을 하고 있는데, 저 지역 같은 경우는 뭐 다들 아시는 한인 분들이 많이 밀집되어 있는 이스트우드, 마스뷰, 웨스트와드, 에디스턴, 카리 파킹리, 글레이즈빌, 일부 오밍턴 이런 다양하게 다 나와 있는데, 지방 정부가 주 업무는 일단은 가장 핵심이 되는 건 커뮤니티에 필요한 업무들이라고 보시면 돼요. 그래서 예를 들어서 뭐 소소하게 쓰레기 수거부터 시작해서 상하수도 관련, DJ, 건축 인허가, 아니면 타운플랜 그런 다양한 업무들을 하고 있고요. 뭐 지방정부 같은 경우는 필요에 따라서 스테이시나 페더럴한테 예산을 보조받을 수 있고요. 지방정부 자체에서 예산을 만들긴 합니다. 다들 아시는 벌금 딱지, 주차 딱지 지방정부에서 뗍니다. 그거는. 그 외의 것들은 스테이트에서 관리를 하는 거고, 뭐 그 외에 뭐 카운슬비, 카운슬 라이트, 아니면 그 외에 더 다양한 부동산도 보유하고 있어요. 거기서 나오는 부동산을 뭐 매각하고 보유하거나 임대하거나 그런 걸 통해서 수익을 창출하고 있고, 그 외에 큰 프로젝트 같은 경우에는 뭐 주정부나 연방정부한테 도움을 요청해서 펀드를 받기도 해요. 그리고 오늘 가장 포커스가 되는 주정부, 스테이트 가버먼트는 이번 3월 25일 선거인인 거 다들 아시죠? 그때 이 행사 자체가 초점 있는 행사이기 때문에 이 스테이트 가버먼트가 무슨 일을 하는지, 어떤 식으로 나한테 도움이 되는지를 아마 좀 제 하는 업무를 파악하시면은 나중에 후보자님들이 얘기를 하실 때 좀 이해가 쉬우실 거예요. 그래서 지금 스테이트 가버먼트가 하고 있는 일들은 크게 나눴을 때 뭐 병원, 학교, 많은 분은 관심이 있으시겠죠? 기차, 레일웨이, 아니면 뭐 주정부가 관리하는 일반 트래픽 로드가 있겠고, 하이웨이 그런 것들을 관리하는 전반적으로 맡고 있는데, 예산 역시 이런 부분 주정부도 자체적으로 토지세, 이렇게 해서 취득세, 자동차세 이런 여러 가지를 통해서 예산을 창출하고요, 집행을 하고, 또 필요시에도 저희 연방정부에서 요청을 받거나 아니 저희 지방정부 쪽에도 프로젝트 같이 펀드를 해서 진행을 합니다. 그리고 연방정부 같은 경우는 이미그레이션, 소셜 웰페어, 아시는 센터링 같은 거, 디펜스, 아니면 포스탈 서비스 같은 것도 있고요. 외교 통상 업무도 하고 그런 일들 다 진행을 합니다. 근데 가장 중요한 핵심은 각 정부들이 행정적인 부분이 서로 철저하게 좀 분리가 돼 있다는, 독립적으로 분리가 돼 있다는 게 가장 핵심인 것 같고요. 가장 쉬운 예를 들자고 하면은 다들 경험을 해보셨을 거예요. 코로나 때 한참 뭐 막내가 쉽지 않았는데 그때 빅토리아주랑 퀸슬랜드에서 이제 보도를 다진 적이 있잖아요. 다른 나라 여행하듯이 막 힘들게 가는 것도 막내가 쉽지 않았는데 그때는 주정부에서 다 결정을 한 거였고 각각 그리고 연방정부에서 강압적으로 막 이렇게 열어라 하고 막 압박을 했는데도 불구하고 끔찍하지 않았던 이유가 이 정부 자체가 확실하게 행정적으로 분리가 돼 있기 때문에 그런 일이 발생할 수 있었던 것 같아요. 말씀드렸듯이 오늘 행사가 스테이 가버먼트 주 후보자들을 위한 모임이기 때문에 말씀드린 건 너무 짧았지만 그래도 아까 말씀 좀 잘 생각하시면서 들으시면 아마 좀 후보자들의 공약이 좀 더 귀에 들어오실 것 같습니다. 너무 급하게 했지만 정말 감사드리고요. 다시 한번 참석해서 감사합니다.
반갑습니다. 먼저 이 자리를 마련해 주신 우리 자영희 회장님하고 줄리엔 리 부회장님 감사드립니다. And thank you for all the candidates and fellow politicians for being here. And 그리고 저는 제 이름은 한정태고요. 자유당 시의원입니다. 오늘 이렇게 호주 정치에도 관심을 가져주시고 또 이렇게 비도 오는 날씨에 이렇게 나와주셔서 감사합니다. 저희는 이번 기회에 제가 좀 말씀드리고 싶은 부분은요, 여러분들께서 이제 투표하실 때 좀 더 개표 사항을 보실 때에 좀 더 재밌게 관측하실 수 있도록 하고자 몇 가지 아셔야 할 부분들을 나눠보고자 합니다. 일단 뉴사우스웨일즈 국회는 93개의 선거구가 있고요. 여기에서 이제 과반수 이상인 47석을 차지해야지 정권을 잡을 수가 있습니다. 그리고 지금 지난 선거 때는요, 2019년이죠. 4년마다 하게 되는데 자유국민당 연합이 과반수를 넘은 48석을 차지하였었고요. 근데 이제 중간에 보궐선거와 몇 가지 변동 때문에 현재는 47석이면서 또 노동당이 36석을 차지하고 있고요. 그리고 나머지는 무소속과 녹색당 등 몇 가지 자리를 차지하고 있습니다. 이번 선거에서 노동당으로 정권이 바뀌려면은 이제 노동당이 녹색당과 합쳐서 아마 9개 지역을 뒤집거나 숫자가 부족할 경우에 무소속과 또 이제 협상을 거치게 되면 또 정권이 바뀔 수도 있기 때문에 아마 관전 포인트일 것 같습니다. 그리고 이번 선거는 또 세계적인 경제적인 영향 때문에 또 모두가 힘든 상태이기 때문에 그만큼 또 경제력 회복의 4년을 앞으로의 4년을 결정하는 그런 중요한 선거입니다. 또한 또 선거구마다 또 여러 변화들이 많았으므로 결과를 정말 예측할 수가 힘든 상황이기 때문에 그런 만큼 좀 더 익사이팅하고 재밌게 투표도 하시고 또 개표도 관찰해 보시기 바랍니다. 다음 슬라이드를 보시면은 저희는 지금 한인들이 가장 많이 사는 지역이면서 선거 마진율이 대체적으로 낮아서 예측하기 힘든 세 지역의 후보들과 함께합니다. 이 지역들의 2019년 투표 결과의 마진은 여기 안 나와 있고 제가 읽어드릴게요. 파라마타는 6.5% 자유당 속이 우세였습니다. 그리고 스트라스필드는 5.2% 노동당이 좀 더 우세했었고요. 그리고 라이드는 8.9%로 자유당이 좀 더 우세했었습니다. 이건 2019년이고요. 근데 이제 여기 보시면은 사실 뉴사우스웨일즈의 한인 인구는 정말 0.9%밖에 되지 않습니다. 그리고 호주 전체에 비해서는 0.5% 정도 되고요. 사실 소수 민족이지만 이 세 지역에 대해서는 보시다시피 4.9%, 5.0 그리고 5.7% 같이 이렇게 어느 정도 아까 말씀해드린 그 마진율을 대부분 차지를 할 수가 있기 때문에 동포 사회가 굉장히 중요하고 또 저희의 관심이 선거 결과에도 충분히 영향을 끼칠 수 있다는 점을 알아보기 위해서 이렇게 한번 조사를 해서 한번 보여드렸고요. 또 한인 동포 사회가 관심이 점점 많이 가져지고 또 저희가 인구가 좀 더 많이 늘어나고 또 그래야지 저희 목소리도 좀 더 커질 수 있을 것 같습니다. 그래서 혹시 주위에 아직 한국에 계시는 친구분이나 친척들이 계시면 빨리빨리 이민 오시라고 좀 초대해 주십시오. 결국은 쪽수가 많아야지 쪽수가 커지는 것 같습니다. 네, 그리고 끝으로 이번 선거의 방법에 대해서 좀 간단히 말씀드리고 싶습니다. 일단 선거 날은 3월 25일이고요. 그리고 사전 투표를 할 수가 있습니다. 당일날 못 오시는 분들에게서는 18일부터 시작을 하기 때문에 그 전주 토요일부터 시작을 하고요. 그리고 이번에는 투표 용지가 2개입니다. 작은 거 하나, 큰 거 하나입니다. 작은 거에는 사실 작은 거가 이게 모두의 관심사예요. 하원 의원을 뽑는 거고 또 여기에서 이 93명 중에 정권을 잡고 주수상을 뽑기 때문에 많은 관심들이 가게 되고요. 그게 작은 투표지고요. 그 작은 긴 투표지는 또 이제 8년마다 반씩 나눠가지고 21명을 뽑는 하원 의원을 뽑는 그런 이제 투표 용지가 있습니다. 작은 용지는 좀 더 쉽습니다. 작은 종이에다가 그냥 선호도 투표지만 호주는 선호도 투표라서 이제 티크가 아니고 1, 2, 3, 4 원하시는 선호도로 숫자를 적어주시는 거고요. 이번에는 그냥 1번만 적어주셔도 되고 원하시는 대로 다 순서를 채워주셔도 됩니다. 그리고 큰 종이에는 조금 더 간단하게 투표를 하실 거면은 굵은 선이 중간에 있는데요, 가로로. 그 위에다가 하시면 좀 더 심플하고요. 거기에다가 숫자 1 또는 2 이렇게 안내지를 보시고 따라 해주시면 되고요. 굳이 이제 이름들을 보고 좀 골라보시겠다고 하시면은 무효 투표가 되지 않으려면은 선 아래에 1번부터 15번까지 적어주셔야 됩니다. 그래서 그렇게 또 적어주셔도 되고요. 네, 그럼 오늘 양쪽 후보들과 정치인들의 소견을 한번 잘 들어보시고 또 이번 선거는 조금 더 잘 알고 투표하는 그런 선거가 되시길 바랍니다. 그리고 앞으로 어떤 정당이 또 집권을 하든 또 지속적인 관심을 가져주시기를 바라겠습니다. 네, 감사합니다.
Councillor Charles Song, and thank you Daniel Han. It was very informative, the intro. Thank you so much. Now, our first guest speaker, Ms. Pruka, a member of the New South Parliament, the Shadow Minister of Education, Early Childhood Learning, the Deputy Leader of the Labour Party, and the state election candidate for Londonderry. Her impressive background and unwavering commitment to improving the lives of constituents make a prominent figure in politics. Today, we have a privilege to hearing the Labour government's vision for the coming New South Wales state election and her plans for the better future. Please join welcoming Ms. Pruka, the leader of the Labour Party.
Thank you very much for having me and all of us here this evening at what certainly looks like it will be a very informative evening. I have to say I'm going to a lot of election forums at the moment, and I've never been to an election forum where there's a presentation about the method of voting, so this takes the cake, I think. I want to start off obviously by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land that we are meeting and gathering on here this evening. I pay my respects to elders past and present and emerging. I thank the Calling Businessman Association for bringing so many people together to participate in an information evening, an evening where you can get to know some of us. I'm sure you know many of the people sitting on the stage anyway, and hear some of what our visions are for the next 4 years and some of our opinions about how New South Wales is going and where we can take it into the future. I want to make particular mention, of course, as the Deputy Leader of the Labor Party, I must do this. I have to make particular mention of our brilliant Labor candidates that I have here with us this evening. The Labor candidate for Ryde, Lyndall Howison, the Labor candidate for Parramatta, Donna Davis, the Labor member for Strathfield, Jason Yatsen-Lee, and of course we all know Sally Situ and Jerome Laxale as the superstars in this part of the world. So thank you for having us all. We very much look forward to being part of this discussion. Well, the Labor Party is here this evening to say to all of you that after 12 years of the coalition in power in New South Wales, we are very proud to say that Labor is ready to return to government in this state in New South Wales. Our shadow cabinet is ready for this challenge. We have done the work and we are hungry for the challenges of office. Our candidates, our brilliant, hard-working candidates are ready to deliver a majority Labor government with a fresh start plan, and of course we have some of those brilliant candidates here with us tonight. And part of the reason why we are ready is that we have listened to the people of New South Wales very carefully. In less than 2 weeks, as we've just heard, I think it's approaching 10 days, so we're almost in single digits, the people of New South Wales will get to choose in our great democracy who gets to lead this state for the next 4 years. And after 12 years, what the coalition are asking for actually is 16 years. That's a second decade in office. After 12 years, asking for a second decade in office. And I think we could all agree that 12 years is a long time for any political party to be in office continuously. So don't you have to be a really good government to deserve another 4? Well, over the past weeks and months, it's been increasingly clear is that the best days of this government, we truly believe, are not in front of them, they're well and truly behind them. Their best people are leaving, even the local member for this area. The New South Wales Liberal government has lost 27 MPs and 14 ministers in the last term, and of course we know the reasons around those issues. Against this backdrop, we have seen something that's close to my heart, and I want to take a moment to discuss this with all of you. The critical issue of rescuing education in this state of New South Wales. We all agree that we're seeing falling education outcomes in New South Wales. We are not doing as well as we should be doing compared to other states and territories around Australia, and even more shamefully, compared to other countries around the world, and international testing shows this to be true. We know that education truly is a game changer for society, for all of our children. It is the greatest gift, isn't it? The greatest gift that we can give the next generation. However, in New South Wales, we are going backwards, and that is something the Labor Party, the Labor Shadow Cabinet, the Labor leadership and the Labor candidates cannot stand by and let happen any further. Between 2006 and 2018, New South Wales students dropped 6th to 23rd in reading. 6th to 23rd, that's quite a jump down. They dropped from 9th to 31st in maths and from 3rd to 23rd in science. I don't think there would be a person in this room that would think that that's acceptable. For a world that is constantly changing, a world where we need to prepare our young people for an evolving economy, for jobs of the future, this is not what we need to see for our children in New South Wales. We really truly believe that the data shows us that one of the contributing factors to this decline is the massive teacher shortage in New South Wales schools. Parents, teachers, students are all telling us, as we talk to the people in our electorates and across the state, how a lack of teachers is forcing classes to be cancelled and children left with minimal supervision in the classroom. Without intervention, these shortages will only get worse, with rising enrolments, an ageing workforce, and fewer young people entering the noble profession of education. Just 1 in 5 teachers believe that they will be in the profession at the end of their working life. So how can we actually be running schools knowing that 1 in 5 teachers think they're not going to be there at the end. They're not going to retire as a teacher. So there's no longevity in this system if basically government policies are driving teachers out of schools. Late last year, there were over 3,000 teacher vacancies and thousands of cancelled and merged classes across the state. We know we're not silly enough to say there is a magic wand, but we need to recruit and retain more New South Wales teachers. We come here this evening and to the people of New South Wales with a plan to do that. We are going to offer 10,000 temporary teachers a permanent job in New South Wales public schools. We're going to slash 5 hours of administrative work for your average teacher in the New South Wales education system. I'm sure many parents in the audience would agree with us that teachers shouldn't be mired down in paperwork and administrative work. They should be teaching our children. There is a similar story, of course, when it comes to health. 67,000 people walked into an emergency department in the last 3 months and turned around and left without getting any treatment. There are 100,000 people on the elective surgery waiting list, the highest on record, and shockingly, 4,000 children. If we form government, New South Wales Labor will deliver new university scholarships for thousands of nurses, doctors, paramedics and allied health workers each year so we can staff our public hospitals. We will invest $76 million in subsidies to attract staff and retain talent in the New South Wales public health system. Students undertaking a healthcare degree will be eligible for a subsidy on their study expenses if they commit, and this is a really crucial point, they will be eligible for this subsidy if they commit to working a minimum of 5 years in the New South Wales public health system, which means we've got them for 5 years. We have them in the system for 5 years where we critically need them. I'm sure there's many people who have their own stories of the New South Wales health system, of nurses and doctors doing their very best, but just without the support. They're just so chronically understaffed. We believe that New South Wales really truly needs a new government that is focused on fixing our health and education systems and making sure we have the essential workers to deliver those services in health and education. Labor is ready, this team is ready, New South Wales Labor is ready, and we believe this state is ready for a fresh start. We need to do it together. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Ms. Rupa, your inspiring speech as a Deputy Leader of the Labour Party. Thank you. Now, it gives me a great pleasure to introduce the Honourable Daniel Tudehop. Mr. Tudehop, a member of New South Wales Legislative Council, he is the Minister of Finance and Small Business in the New South Wales Government. Throughout the time of August, Mr. Tudehop has demonstrated a deep commitment to serving the people of New South Wales and advancing the interest of his constituents. We are delighted to have him here today to share his insight and perspective of the upcoming New South Wales state election. Please join welcoming the Honourable Mr. Daniel Tudehop.
Thank you for having me, and I'm obliged to correct it, in fact, because I'm no longer the Minister for Finance and Small Business. But that's a shame, but hopefully that will be rectified. It's great to be here and with you this evening and participate in this forum to talk about the vision for New South Wales for the future government of this state. One of the things that we are doing today is talking about vision. Where do we want this state to be? And one of the things I'd say to you is you've just heard someone say to you, we need to elect a new government because we've had the existing one for 12 years. Well, I'd say we need the same government for another 4 years, and there are a variety of reasons why we do that. The first thing I'd say to you is that this is a government which has a vision for where it wants to take you. I didn't hear one thing in the address by the Deputy Labor Leader which indicated that they have a vision for anything. I would say this to you, and I want you to think about this. Who has a vision? Who has a vision for... Good on you. Okay. Who has a vision for the manner in which we would take pressure off GPs and emergency clinics by allowing pharmacies to dispense prescription drugs? Who has a vision for improving the ability of first home buyers to buy a home because we have embarked on stamp duty reform? Who has a vision for managing the economy in the manner that we have? And the most important thing that I want to talk about tonight is this. Is last Sunday, a policy was introduced by the Premier of this state which thought about your children. It is a policy which says that when your children start school, we would like them to be in a position where they have money in the bank to be able to invest in a new house or in their education. This is visionary policy. We talk a lot about governments and our obligation to make sure that people have superannuation in retirement. And yet we never ever talk about the burden which we place on young people at the time that they leave school and start upon and embark upon their careers. At the time when they are at university, have expenses at university, they potentially want to be involved in a trade, they want to go to TAFE, they want to buy tools, they want to in fact embark upon a career in a trade. It is visionary to say to those children, your families, that we are a government which has them at the heart of what we do. We want to say to them, we want to give you a bank account. We want to give you a bank account when you finish school that you can draw on for the purposes of your education and for the purposes of embarking upon your trade or alternatively for buying a house. That is visionary politics. That is something which you will never hear from those opposite because they don't ever think in terms of new policies and new visions, and they never think in terms of what is best for you and your families. And family is at the heart of everything that we have ever done as a government. Over 12 years we have renovated this state. We have delivered new schools, unlike those opposite who closed schools when they were in government. We have delivered new and renovated hospitals, unlike those opposite who left them in a state of decay and deterioration. We have built new railway lines, we have built new roads. And that is the vision we're taking forward as a government, and we say we want to continue to deliver it. And you know why? Not because we necessarily just want to like building, because it benefits every family. It gets your children, it gets people home to their children and their families quicker every night. It gets families together. And that is what is at the heart of making sure we improve the hospitals and the schools that we have been providing. There is no way that we should stop that process now. We have been involved in it for 12 years, and the next 4 years are an opportunity of continuing to deliver what we have done for this great state. One of the slogans which we often hear is this: Conservative governments become the clean-up crew for Labor. Because if you elect the Labor government, you get nothing. You get nothing. And what you have to do is eventually you get to a circumstance where you say, they've done nothing, we've got to elect a Conservative government to clean it up. Well, the process keeps on going. And I urge this upon you. We have a really important election at hand, and this is an important election because you are given a choice between a government which is visionary or a government which will take you backwards. And what I urge you to do on the 25th of March is this: place your faith in a government that looks after your family, that has your family at the heart of everything that we do, and that we will continue to deliver for the people of this state in the way that we have a track record of doing, in a way that we have delivered an economy with AAA credit ratings, and the way that we are able to afford the projects that we are embarking upon. Those opposite will never tell you how they can afford what they want to do. We can, we have, and we will continue to do it. I thank you for the time you've given me tonight, and please vote for us on the 25th of March.
As the next speaker, Councillor Purcell is a dedicated public figure who has served right community in distinction of many years. As a highly respected member of the local council, he was worked tirelessly to improve the lives of people in the area and advance their interest. Today, Councillor Purcell is to endorse Mayor Mr. Donna Davis, the Labour Party candidate for the upcoming election in Parramatta. Thank you.
감사합니다. 안녕하세요. I won't carry on the fire and brimstone or somebody might have a heart attack. So it's rather warm here tonight, so I'll be as quick as possible. And I'm sorry, I'm off script already. I'm going to read the script tonight, so please forgive me, but it will assist the translation process. As you've heard, my name is Bernard Purcell. I'm a Labor councillor for the City of Ryde, a very proud Labor councillor. It is my pleasure to be here this evening with you all to endorse a good friend of mine and a neighbour, Donna Davis, and a fabulous Labor candidate for Parramatta. So a round of applause for Donna Davis. Sorry. We shot the bolt there. I've had the pleasure of working with Donna for 6 years as she was on council and is now Mayor of Parramatta. At the time I found her to be one of the most trusted, and these are important words, loyal, sincere councillors. Now presiding Mayor of Parramatta, hopefully soon the next state member for Parramatta. Donna is no random choice for Labor to ask to represent Parramatta. There is no just grabbing at candidates here. She has lived in the electorate for nearly 30 years. That's nearly as old as I am. She's raised her family here and given to the community as a politician and a resident. She's fabulous, I can tell you. As Councillor and Mayor, Donna has fought for Parramatta to assist in its growth, not only while maintaining its heritage in particular, and acknowledge the significant history of the Barramadigal, who first settled in the upper reaches of the Parramatta River well before European history was recorded here. The growth has seen the expansion of residential development, you would have seen it, you can't miss it, and increased the amenity across the city. Parramatta now boasts a fine precinct of diverse activities, sports facilities, a significant dining district and entertainment choices, a great place for visitors, but also a fantastic place to live, to work and to study. Many electorates, every electorate had their own needs and particular issues. Donna Davis is across these issues because she's lived and worked in the area. She knows that Parramatta is one of the highest, if not highest, population of young people in Australia. Overseas students, local students, children of a region of many young families. Donna knows the realities of business, and that's what you are, business people here tonight, with the special needs of business that people have in Parramatta. This is especially true for the light rail transport project that has affected local businesses over the last few years. Donna listens and Donna acts. She's always done that, representing every sector of the community and every community group, including the business community of Koreans in Australia, and congratulations for turning out in force tonight. If that wasn't enough, she's a huge fan of the Parramatta Eels, and she brings the local and hopefully won the TWT NRL tipping competition last year, which is no mean feat, another example of a very personable and approachable, so did I, Newcastle won, approachable person that she is. I'll let Donna tell you all about her vision for Parramatta and the state of New South Wales under the Minns government, and I wish her all the very best on March the 25th. Kamsahamnida.
Good evening. I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, and I'd like to thank the Calling Businessman Association for the wonderful event that you're hosting this evening and for the opportunity to speak. I'd also like to thank all of those that are here in attendance this evening. It's a busy time for us, so for you to all be here and give this time shows how important you are as a community and how important it is for us to pass on our messages to you and beyond. I am Donna Davis, and in my role as a councillor and the Lord Mayor of Parramatta, my priority has always been listening to our community. I believe that a lot of the time, community has the answers and they need someone who will listen. And after 12 years in office, Dominic Perrottet and the Liberals are tired and have stopped listening to our community. They're neglecting the health and education services local families rely on and have made the cost of living pressures harder by selling our essential services, like our electricity network, to private for-profit companies. So we need a fresh approach. You don't need me to tell you how fast our city is growing and how much Parramatta is changing. And at this critical moment for Parramatta, we need someone who will listen to the challenges local residents are facing, and with the experience required to manage that change and deliver the infrastructure and the services that we need. I have lived locally for almost 30 years, and that is surprising, I know, raising 2 sons here with my husband Michael. I am embedded in the Parramatta community and understand the challenges we face, as well as the opportunities, and will use my experience to bring a fresh approach, drawing on Parramatta's high youth population and incredibly diverse community. Our diversity includes a strong Korean community, one of the largest in New South Wales, who live and operate businesses across Parramatta, and I know there are many of you here this evening. Your investment and vision in Parramatta is critical to the long-term success of our region. As part of the Men's Labour team, we'll build new public schools in Westmead, Sydney Olympic Park and Melrose Park, and upgrade schools in Dundas, Newington and Wentworth Point. We'll deliver improved staffing levels in our hospitals and end the talk and finally start construction on Parramatta Light Rail Stage 2. We will spend $50 million to fix Hill Road in Olympic Park, one of the most neglected roads that has not received the funding it needs. And all of those who go to Newington regularly or go visit the Sydney Olympic Park precinct know that that is one of the critical pieces of infrastructure that needs to be delivered. We'll introduce a $60 a week toll cap and establish a publicly owned clean energy company to put an end to the privatisation of our energy assets and put downward pressure on power prices. We'll establish a small business commissioner, creating a one-stop shop for small business owners, and at the same time we will introduce initiatives to build our nighttime economy while simplifying outdoor dining approvals indefinitely. And we'll invest in recreation and community spaces in Parramatta for the families that call Parramatta home, like revitalising the Riverside Theatres, investing in walking and cycling tracks, improving connectivity, and finally start and finish the Peninsula Park that has been 8 years of promises and no delivery from this government. A major change is coming to Sydney. It's the new airport. As the gateway to Western Sydney, Parramatta will play a critical role as a destination and to the success of that airport and to that precinct. Parramatta will play a role as a destination to live, to work, to study and visit. I am committed to this vision and have already proven my ability to deliver and work to achieve this. With your support, I'll keep listening to you, and I'll bring a fresh approach to Parramatta along with a Men's Labour government. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Donna Davis, the selection candidate for the Labour Party in Parramatta. Now I'm delighted to introduce the next speaker, the Honourable Dr. jopd, a well-respected member of the community who has served as a member for Parramatta in the New South Wales Parliament. A member for the Liberal Party for more than a decade, Dr. Lee is also currently Minister for Correction. Throughout his career, Dr. Lee held various senior positions in government, including Minister for Skills and Tertiary Education, Minister for Tourism and Major Events, and Minister for Sport. Today, Dr. Lee is here to endorse Ms. Katie Mullins, the Liberal Party candidate for Parramatta. Let's welcome the Honorable Dr. Jeff Lee.
Well, thank you very much, and can I first say thank you and recognise Patrick and your whole team about putting on the voice of Korean Australian businesses. Thank you very much for the opportunity to have this forum. I think it's so important to have these forums so that everybody can actually become engaged in the political process and actually make informed decisions as you go, rather than just follow the how to vote, although you should follow how to vote when it says number 1 Katie Mullins for Parramatta, you should put number 1. But everyone have an informed opinion, so can I thank everybody here too tonight. It's a cold and wet night tonight and you're coming along. Not many people come out in cold and wet, but you're here today, so thank you. And I think tonight is a great opportunity, a great platform to listen to our candidates and best see whether they suit us. But as many of you will know, I am retiring from politics in 11 days' time at the next election. But it's certainly been an absolute honour and a privilege to be the MP for Parramatta, the Member of Parliament for Parramatta for the last 12 years. You know, in Parramatta, and we saw on the screen before the numbers in terms of Parramatta, a very multicultural, multi-faith society. Something like 55-60% of people were actually born overseas now call Parramatta home. And can I say that as an example to the world, we should not put up with racism or vilification of other people. So can I say that I was very disturbed today to read in the paper the reports in the Telegraph of Donna Davis, the Lord Mayor for Parramatta, making racist comments, and the community have been outraged by these racist comments. So I'd say to this, using this platform today, and say, Donna, you should apologise to the people of Parramatta, you should apologise to the people today about the comments you make about racist comments. Now, they were reported in the paper. I'm just saying the community have reached out and it's absolutely appalling. But can I say that we've heard many comments today, and can I say I'm very proud to say that as the member of Parramatta, I think Parramatta has done well over the last 12 years. There has been no electorate with greater investment in Parramatta. It's been $7 billion and we're counting still, whether it's Parramatta Light Rail 1, Parramatta Light Rail 2, whether it's a new stadium, whether it's a new $1 billion upgrade to Westmead Hospital. We're currently doing an $800 million upgrade to the Children's Hospital. We've got the Powerhouse Museum moving in, something that could never have been done. It's the largest investment actually since the Opera House, the building of the Opera House. We've even moved 12,000 public servants into Parramatta. So it's changed the face in the last 10 years. Can I say we've radically changed the face of Parramatta, and I think for the better of the people. Can I say with things after 12 years we want that change to continue in a positive way, and I think Damien put it very well with the need for continuing that change process for the better. Whether it's guaranteed universal pre-kindergarten places for every student right across New South Wales, whether it's, and Damien did a great job looking at how our government has a vision to actually allow young people from 0 up into 18, the government will actually start them a bank account so they can save for their future. Just like older people have superannuation, we're actually going to deliver it for young people so that they can pay for their education or their deposit on their first home. And finally, can I say, most importantly, we're best placed for those financial needs. Can I say I'm endorsing Katie because I've known her for the last 5 years. She's a wonderful person. She has the highest integrity. She has Christian views. She's a person that's a self-made person, someone who worked 3 jobs, studied at night and became a lawyer, a person that worked and lived in the area representing the individuals, the families and the businesses of this area. She's not a political apparatchik that have come through the political system. She's one that actually put up a hand, wants to continue that change for the community. The change that she already delivers as a lawyer. There's posters with my face and Katie's face on it. You know why? Because I believe Katie is our best choice for the future for Parramatta. Come some time.
Hello everyone, my name is Katie Mullins and I am the Liberal candidate for Parramatta. And I just want to say firstly, thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited to be standing as a candidate in such a multicultural and diverse electorate. I know that the Korean community are known for their entrepreneurial success, their hard work, their world-class art and culture, and I respect the Korean community immensely. These are all attributes that the Liberal Party value and celebrate and support. As our current MP, Jeff Lee, retires, I'm incredibly proud of everything he's achieved for Parramatta, and I want to continue his good work. As a local candidate, I am determined to ensure that the New South Wales Government continues to deliver for our local community. We will be delivering stage 1, and we've already started stage 2 of the Parramatta Light Rail. We will deliver the Parramatta Powerhouse Museum. We will deliver the Metro West from Parramatta to Sydney CBD with a stop at Sydney Olympic Park. And we will be delivering the Metro Link to the new Western Sydney Airport, because it's crazy to have a Western Sydney Airport without a train line from Parramatta. We will continue to deliver record investment into Westmead. I want to continue the good work that Jeff Lee has started. I understand why people come to Parramatta to make a life for themselves. I grew up in the country and I moved here to study law and make a career and a life for myself. I come from humble beginnings and came to Parramatta with nothing and needed to work very hard to support myself financially through university. And with that hard work and sheer grit and determination, I graduated and I obtained a law degree. The first person in my family to obtain a university degree, and I'm incredibly proud of that. I've spent the last 15 years working as a local lawyer, and I've been helping people with a variety of needs and issues in the community, and I'm now ready to apply my expertise and experience to fight for the people of Parramatta in Parliament. Young people are our future, and the Liberal Party strongly supports education. We are providing free early education for children before kindergarten, 500 new preschools. We're building a new high school at Wentworth Point. We're upgrading current public school facilities, and we're providing extra funding for free tutoring for students. And we have recently announced a fresh new approach to helping our children with their financial security. This is not a stale government, this is a government that still has fresh ideas, and we have announced the Kids Future Fund account, which you've heard about today, which is going to provide great financial security for our children, so when they turn 18, they have the means they need to go and study or look at buying a house if they wish to. It's something that I wish existed when I was younger. It's been mentioned that Parramatta is a young electorate. The main demographic is millennials. I'm a millennial. I am a true representation of a Parramatta resident, and I wish that that future fund existed when I was a child. Only a Liberal government can manage our economy efficiently and properly. Is it a coincidence that the only state in mainland Australia that is run by the Liberal government is the one with the AAA credit rating? It's not a coincidence, it's because we know how to manage the state's economy, and we'll continue to do that. A vote for me is a vote to continue our strong economic plan. A vote for me is a vote for integrity, honesty, and a true voice for the people. A vote for me is a vote for an experienced, genuine local, not a career politician, but a qualified professional. A vote for me is a vote for a fresh, energetic MP who will listen to you and will help you find solutions now and in the future. A vote for me is a vote for the people of Parramatta. My name is Katie Mullins, And a vote for me is a vote for us to continue our great Parramatta journey and for us to continue together moving New South Wales forward.
The state election candidate for Liberal Party in Parramatta. Can you feel the heat now? I'm just getting hot.
It's a cold, so we can cool down the heat a little bit.
Yeah, that's
Okay, we
right.
have prepared a small gift for each team for you to share. Okay. I think it's election time again, so it's getting hot. So, okay, I have two quizzes for you. Anyone who can answer, raise your hand. Okay? Okay. Who was the last Labour Premier before? I don't think there is a very fair selection. If I give you an opportunity to answer the question.
That's not fair.
I know it's not fair. I'm sorry. I know it's not
I
fair.
forgive you.
Thank you very much. Anyone? Who was the last? Okay, he's a little, the young man.
Christina Keneally?
Yes.
Yes.
For you, Miss Christina Keneally. Sorry, sir. I knew you knew the answer. That's why I couldn't. Thank you very much. But Labour was in power before for about 16 years, right? And then Liberal came in, and they stayed for 12 years. What you are doing next Saturday, we may decide another 10 years. Who knows? Okay, second question. Anyone knows what payroll tax is? I don't think it's fair. It's not fair again. Anyone know? Anyone pay payroll taxes? Maybe that's the reason why no one knows about it.
Because we increased the threshold and reduced the rate.
That's right. Really? I'm not kidding. Anyone knows? Okay, yes.
The employer hiring more employee,
Yeah.
then pay more tax.
Do you think it's fair?
Not fair.
Okay, please tell the politician. Maybe we are employees. I don't know. Not many people pay payroll tax. That's why it's not that well heard in the community. But by employing employee, you must pay taxes in New South, not in New South, but in all over Australia. I think John Howard had promised to abolish it when he introduced GST. That wasn't the case. That wasn't the case. There was a discussion before the introduction of GST. But anyway, the payroll tax is there for in all states, not only in New South Wales. But it's time for the politicians to have a discussion on it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And give him the chocolate too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, very good.
Thank you, Steve.
No more chocolate. So.
Let's just a little break to just cool it down. Now, I'd like to introduce Miss Salicito, who has served in Reed since the 2022 federal election. Mrs. Salicito is the inspirational public figure who has always been committed to fighting for important causes and serve her community. Tonight we are fortunate to have Mrs. Sito here to share the hot thought on why she believes Mr. Jason Lee is the best candidate for representing Strasbourg. Let's welcome Mrs. Salicito to the member of parliament.
Thanks, Julianne, and thank you to Patrick and the entire Calling Association. I wish that I could endorse all the candidates because they are amazing. But my job here is to endorse my good friend Jason Lee. But before I do that, I did want to just pick up on a few things that we've heard from our friends on this side. And I was hoping that this would be a contest of ideas and policies. And I also wanted to wish Jeff Lee good luck in his retirement. But I didn't realise that in his desperation to keep his party in place that he would start to fling mud at people where it's not deserved. And let's talk about what this is about. This should be, you are here because you want to hear about our vision, which is what Damien Tudorhope talked about, not to hear about these personal attacks. And I have known Donna Davis for many years. She is a good friend of mine and a good supporter of mine. Donna is an amazing Mayor of Parramatta. She's an amazing candidate for Parramatta. But beyond that, Donna doesn't just turn up to cultural events so that she gets a photo taken with people. Donna sits and listens to the community to find out what are the things that concerns them. How do I know this? Because I sit alongside her. I sat alongside her 2 days ago in Wentworth Point to listen to the community there. It's a highly diverse and multicultural community. We sat, we listened to their concerns, and we are acting. And that is the type of representative that you want. Someone who will listen to the community, who will be there to support you, and someone who is deeply connected and concerned about multiculturalism, and who is there to bring us together, not divide us, and not sling mud. And so I'm really disappointed that that is where the debate went today. But I want to endorse Donna, Lyndall and Jason, but that my role here today is to endorse Jason. And I do want to say thank you so much for having me. I feel like this is a homecoming, especially for Jerome and I. When I walked up the steps this morning, this afternoon, it felt so familiar because I was here in April, and the support that you showed me and Jerome then is something that we will always remember and treasure. And it's a support that I have seen since the election. I was lucky enough to be at the Korean fashion show when you allowed this Ajuma the opportunity to wear a hanbok, and for one moment I felt very graceful. I was there on Australia Day when the Australian-Korean Cultural Exchange Program, and I see Esther Kim in the audience, put on a fantastic show and performance, and it was a real bringing together of the Korean culture and the Australian culture on Australia Day. And what a beautiful representation of how you have come to embrace the best of Australian culture. Now, you are entrepreneurial, you are deeply committed to education, and so when you hear about the things that Prue Carr has spoken about the teacher shortage, can I just give you one example of what is happening in our electorate, in the electorate that I represent, so your children. In one school, in 1 week, 43 classes did not have a dedicated teacher. That meant that there were 2 classes in one with a teacher just babysitting for many of those classes. That is just one story that I heard about one of the schools in my electorate. Your children are not getting the education that they deserve. You have in Jason Lee someone who's deeply committed to education. How do I know this? He is on the board, he's on the board of the University of Sydney. In 2021, he was made Pro-Vice-Chancellor of the university. He knows and understands the importance of education. He's also an entrepreneur, a businessman, so he understands the struggles that you have as business people, and he's deeply committed to helping to support you. The other thing you should know about Jason is he is a deeply compassionate and generous person, and he has shown that to me and our community. He listens and he's out there working hard every day to make sure that the community is well represented. So just as you supported myself and Jerome at the federal election, I hope that you can show that level of support to my good friends Lyndall, Donna and Jason. Thank you.
안녕하세요. 저는 Jason Yatsen Lee. I wanted to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I'm going to go a little bit off script and just say how proud and delighted I am that my friend of many, many years, Sally Situ, is now in federal parliament as our member for Review. Sally and I have worked side by side for many, many years, fighting for adequate representation of Asian Australians in Australian society and in Australian politics. And I'm so very proud. And I think we've just seen tonight what an outstanding, fierce, principled representative she can be. So thank you, Sally. Now, Sally and I share many things in common, as I do with many of you. In 1960, my dad came to Australia, came to Sydney on a boat as a student. He left behind everything he had, everybody he knew, to start a new life here. And I think in his heart of hearts, he knew he wasn't going to go back to Hong Kong, where he came from. And thinking about that now, I still marvel at just how courageous that was. But this is not a unique story. This is the story of millions of migrants like us who came to Australia in search of a better life. My parents worked hard all their lives. My dad is a small business person, like many of you are. My mum is a teacher, so that my sister and I could have the best educations, so that we could have all the opportunities that they never had. And it's this that drives me. You know? I studied hard, I worked hard to make my parents proud. And it's also part of the reason why I'm in politics. Number one, to give back to the country that has given my family so much opportunity. Number two, hopefully bring some of the 25 years of experience I've had in my career in law, in investment banking and in business, outside of politics to the parliament, hopefully to make it better. And number three, to make sure that migrants, people who otherwise don't have a voice in Australian politics. It's critically important. And I look forward to the day when there is a Korean Australian in federal parliament, Korean Australians in the New South Wales Parliament and the parliaments of the state. It is critically important. So, our vision for the state of New South Wales. Why are we asking for your support on March the 25th? I won't repeat, I'm going to go off script again here, sorry translator. Because what I was going to say I think has already been covered. But I'd like to give you a business perspective on why you should vote Labor. We've heard about privatisation and what has happened. Over the last 10 years, the Liberal National Coalition has privatised over $90 billion of our essential public assets, including our toll roads and our energy companies, precisely at the time when families across the state are suffering from severe cost of living pressures. Not only were these essential monopoly assets sold to profit maximising private companies, they were sold to listed companies. Now, those of you in business will know, as a listed company, you need to grow your earnings every quarter. And if you don't, your share price gets hammered. So our essential services, our toll roads, our energy companies have been sold to listed companies who have to grow their profits every quarter. Now, it doesn't take a genius to know that what is good for shareholders, in this instance, is fundamentally not good for the public interest. And as a business owners, as all of you are, as many of you are, what happens to your business when you sell off all of your income generating assets? So far, we have forfeited over $65 billion in toll revenue. So far. And $115 billion over the life of those assets will be forfeited. What happens to your business when you have sold
all of your income generating assets. That's the first big point I'd make. The second big point I'd make relates to education. And again, I'll put a business perspective on this. We have heard from the other speakers about the teacher shortage crisis in our schools. I'll put a bit of colour on this. A high school principal in my electorate and also in Sally's electorate told me that things were so bad in his high school, unless this was fixed, he could see the entire public school system collapsing within 3 to 5 years. I have a good friend whose son is in year 11 at North Sydney Boys High School, the second most prestigious selective school in the state. He wanted to do business studies for the HSC. He's in year 11. He wanted to do business study for the HSC. He couldn't do it because they could not find a teacher to teach it. This, friends, is North Sydney Boys High. Now, if North Sydney Boys High cannot find a teacher, imagine what it's like for other schools. Now, back to a business perspective. Where is your company? If you treat your staff in such a way, if you deliberately suppress their wages over a 10-year period, such that 60% of your staff say that they want to quit in the next 5 years. If you just invest in the hard infrastructure, in the physical assets, but you do not invest in your people, such that your people all want to resign, where does that leave your business? So to this point, that the Liberal Party are the better economic managers, I'd ask you to think hard about that. And think about the approaching $190 billion of debt. One would think that the political philosophy is asset recycling would save the state from incurring additional debt. We have the highest amount of public debt of any state in the country, approaching $190 billion by 2026. The interest payments on that debt will approach $7 billion a year. That is more than what we spend on the police force. So ladies and gentlemen, we are seeking your support on March 25th. We have fresh ideas, a fresh team, and we are ready to take New South Wales forward. Thank you very much.
The Labour candidate is Strathclyde. Now, pleased to welcome the Honourable Scott Fallow, Member for the New South Wales Legislative Council since 2015, and representing the Liberal Party of Australia, Mr. Fallow currently serves the Government Whip in the Legislative Council, coordinating and operating the Chamber of Parliament committees. Now, Mr. Fallow here to endorse Mr. John Paul Vallary, the Liberal candidate for state election Strathfield. Unfortunately, he is very sick today, so he just sent us a last-minute apology. So I hope he's get better soon. But Mr. Fallow can endorse him tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me here. It's great to be with the Calling Businessman Association. Again, for another election forum on Do You Know Australian Politics. So, annyeonghaseyo to everyone here tonight. It's so great to see so many friends here in this room. I've got to say my association with the Korean community in politics goes back to my time on Strathfield Council, and I look at my good friend William Sung, who was the president of the Korean Society back when I was on Strathfield Council and back when I was mayor in 2007. But the Korean community, of course, has gone from strength to strength throughout Sydney, and nowhere has it been more stronger than in Strathfield, where it has transformed Strathfield. I remember growing up in Strathfield and going to the plaza and seeing so many empty shops. Now you walk into the plaza and you see a vibrant affair with the Korean community and so many great Korean businesses there in the plaza. And Stephen was asking the question before of who knows about payroll tax. Now, payroll tax is something I hate. It's something I spoke about in my maiden speech, and it's something that this government, many of you do not know about payroll tax because this government has raised the rate at which payroll tax is applied on businesses from $850,000 to $1.2 million. We've also reduced the rate from 5.4% to 4.6%, and all of that was opposed by those opposite. At the last election, when we said that we were going to do this, when we said at the last election we were going to make sure that thousands of businesses did not have payroll tax, those opposite said no. Those opposite said that they wanted to see more businesses pay payroll tax, and they wanted to see less people in jobs because payroll tax is a tax on jobs. It also is pretty clear from those opposite that they have forgotten that we have gone through a pandemic, that we have seen our society transformed over the last few years. And the reason we have such debt in this state is because at every single step of the way, we in government stood side by side with business across New South Wales. Damien Tudorhope, as the Minister for Finance at the time, myself in the role of the Parliamentary Secretary for COVID Recovery, were working day in and day out with businesses to try and help them keep afloat, whether it was with rebates or whether it was with programs like Dine and Discover. And we know now that businesses still need that help, which is why the Perrottet government, re-elected, will see that there will be a $500 rebate each and every year for the next 2 years to help businesses with the cost of doing business and help them with government fees and charges in being able to provide support for business today. And I know so many of you in your businesses have such wonderful, vibrant businesses, but are finding it tough. You're finding it tough out there at the moment because of course, of pressures, global pressures that we're seeing. Global pressures throughout the world are impacting businesses. And we're seeing each and every day that it is tougher and tougher to be able to do business. And as you know from your time in business, that you need steady experience. Those who've done it before, those who've navigated the hard headwinds which are ahead, those who've navigated difficult times. And you see with the Liberal and National Party, you see a team who know how to navigate those strong headwinds that are ahead. But you also see a team not with just experience, but a team with vision and new ideas. As Damien and Jeff and of course Katie have talked about, we have a vision for the future in New South Wales. We have a vision of building for New South Wales. We have a vision of metros for New South Wales. We have a vision of building infrastructure. As the Premier announced, not just a future fund for kids, but $1.2 billion for more education facilities across our state. Universal pre-kindergarten accelerated for 2027 across New South Wales. A vision for our children's future, a vision for your business's future, and a vision for families across New South Wales. We have a team which knows the Korean community. Myself, Damien, Jeff, of course Jordan and Katie and Victor, who I saw walk in a second ago, great friends of the Korean community, and a premier based in Epping, a premier who lives and breathes the Korean community as well and knows the strength of our Korean community here in New South Wales. So, in just a few short days, the 25th of March, you have a choice. You have a choice of those who've got experience, those who've got vision, and those who know your community well. And it is a choice to keep New South Wales moving forward. And I pray that you'll make that choice on the 25th of March for the Liberal and Nationals Coalition and JP Bellardi in Strathfield. Thank you very much.
Hello. Now, please welcome Mr. Jeremy. He served as a Labour Member of Parliament for Bit Benelong after being selected in the 2022 federal election. He is here to endorse Ms. Linda Hawson, the Labour Party candidate for Ryde. Mr. Laxell served as a councillor for the city of Ryde from 2012 to 2022 and was also elected as a mayor twice. Extensive experiences both local and federal government makes him an important supporter for Mr. Howson's campaign. Let's give him a warm welcome to Mr. Jeremy Laxell.
Thank you, Julian. 안녕하세요. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land as well, and just again a huge thank you to President Cha and Vice President Lee for this really unique event. I mean, what other election forum can you come to when you get a performance like we had earlier on with the violin and piano? I think this time you've got dinner boxes, which is a huge improvement on last time. You don't have to go home hungry, which is fantastic. But it's just a wonderful opportunity for the Korean Australian community to come together and to be engaged in what's a really important decision in 10 years' time. And we know living in Australia, being engaged in politics is probably pretty underrated. But when you're engaged, you know that you can help form our decisions, that you can hold us to account as politicians. So thank you for all being here tonight, taking a night off and caring about this election. And thanks to many of you, I'm able to stand here as your new federal member for Bennelong and speak to you all about my great friend, Lyndall Howson. But before I do, and I saw him walk in earlier, I'd just like to thank Mr. Dominello for his service to Ryde and to New South Wales. It's not easy being in politics, and Mr. Dominello has done his job as a member for Ryde very well over a long period of time. At this election, much like at last year's federal election, Ryde has the opportunity to elect someone new. I've known Lyndall for over 10 years, and I've worked alongside her opponent for about 5 years, and I feel like I know them both quite well. And I can attest, hand on heart, that Lyndall is absolutely the best person to continue on serving Ryde in Mr. Dominello's retirement. I've had the pleasure of witnessing Lyndall's hard work and dedication, and I can say without hesitation that she is one of the most passionate and committed people I've ever met. I think a big part of her passion is her dedication to her faith. Faith is a unique characteristic amongst politicians, particularly those from the progressive side of politics. Lyndall is a woman of faith and has been for as long as I've known her. Her involvement in North Ryde Uniting Church, just up the road here, has been consistent. Her involvement in issues of social justice has been ongoing, and her passion about our local community remains paramount. She also has an extraordinary ability to analyse issues critically. Over dinner and wines amongst friends, we often discuss issues in depth, and she uses her experience as a teacher and her experience in her work in the private sector to bring a very measured and detailed perspective to all things that we discuss, from what's on TV to what our government should be doing. This is the type of representation we deserve here in Ryde. We need an MP who is ready to be part of a new government. We need representation from someone who will not take locals and voters for granted. We need someone who will tackle the pressures facing small businesses, the pressures that are facing local schools, and pressures we're all facing with the increased costs of living. And we know that when we heard some extraordinary stories from the member for Reid and from the Deputy Leader of the Opposition about the extreme pressures we're facing with the overcrowding of schools and the teacher shortage. Now, I'd rather a teacher in Parliament in Lyndall there to help the government deal with this crisis we have in education. We're all facing extreme cost of living pressures, and I prefer a parent who juggles a family budget on a daily basis in Parliament, providing that perspective when working with government to help with the cost of living. And I want someone in Parliament who will oppose the further privatisation of our public assets. We know that those opposite have privatised nearly everything they could. They privatised our electricity assets, they privatised our local bus routes, and we cannot let them privatise anymore. Lyndall has been raising her family locally, serving on school and church committees in Ryde for over 10 years. She is as much as part of this community as anyone I've ever met. And on the 25th of March, you will elect a new member for Ryde. I can tell you from a personal perspective, it would be such an honour to work with her daily in my capacity as a federal MP, but importantly as a close and trusted friend. I'd encourage you all to support Lyndall, and of course, give her a big round of applause as she comes up tonight. Cheers.
안녕하세요. Good evening. We meet on the land of the Wallumattagal people, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Thank you so much to the Calling Businessman Association, to their leaders and their members, and all of you here in the room tonight. What an honour it is to follow my good friend Jerome Maxwell, and what a lovely introduction he has given me. I can only hope I can live up to those kind words, but I certainly can confirm that I will do my very best.
My name is Lyndall Howison. I'm a high school teacher. I'm a former local government councillor. I've lived in Ryde for 10 years with my husband and my daughter. Ryde is a wonderful place to live. It is diverse, it is hardworking, and I'm very proud to call it my home. As a former local councillor where I served in the inner west of Sydney, we grappled with pressures of urban development and the preservation of public open space. Our council was collaborative and transparent in its budget management. And we steered that council through the GFC, and my council fared very well, where other councils didn't. Professionally, I've also worked as a marketing and communications manager in the finance sector and in the not-for-profit sector. I bring a range of skills to this role. But a few years ago, I retrained as a high school teacher. I am committed to excellent schools that transform lives. I want New South Wales schools to develop thoughtful, enterprising and well-informed young people. I'm going to go off script like so many of us have. I was delighted tonight to meet someone who is greeting people to this event who went to the same school I did. And whenever I see my school logo, I always get a bit of a lift, and we had a little chat. And she is a great example of the type of intelligent and thoughtful person that New South Wales schools should be producing. So education is at the heart of my aspirations for our state, my vision for Ryde and for New South Wales. I have seen the impact of the teacher shortage, which is a crisis, in my own work. I have seen it firsthand. It is having a devastating impact on educational outcomes in this state, and it is imperative that we address it right now. A Minns Labor government will implement a range of measures to ensure that we can invest in our essential workers. Frontline services like schools and hospitals, the nuts and bolts of state government. We will do this without selling off essential assets, such as Sydney Water. Our savings initiatives are transparent. We have been clear about how we will manage the budget of this state. Some examples. A Minns Labor government will reduce the use of labour hire workers by government by 25%. This will deliver savings, $1.6 billion of savings. Labor will implement a 2-year freeze on senior executive pay rises and cut the number of those positions by 15% through natural attrition. Finally, the government will lead by example by imposing a 2-year pay rise for our politicians. These 2 initiatives will deliver $500 million in savings over the forward estimates. This weekend, Chris Minns announced in Eastwood, just down the road, that 320,000 eligible small businesses and 1.6 million eligible families will get help with the cost of electricity bills through a $485 million energy relief fund. Eligible businesses will receive rebates off their bill in the hundreds of dollars. Small businesses make up 98% of all businesses in New South Wales, and they employ 1.8 million people. This fund will help to lower bills and fight inflation. It's an important announcement for small business in this state. We have heard many times, including tonight, that the Liberals have a long-term economic plan for New South Wales. This is the same government that has announced as part of this election $50 billion in unfunded infrastructure projects. This is the same government that has overseen state debt increase dramatically to $187 billion in the 25-26 financial year. They have announced a small business rebate on fees and charges that their own government applies to small business. We ask, why does a 12-year-old government need more time? Their ministers are not sticking around to implement this plan. 27 MPs have or will have left at this election. By contrast, Labor will not make promises that require us to privatise more assets. We'll increase access to affordable and reliable transport and cap road tolls. Our vision is to make good housing possible for buyers and renters. Our vision is to repair and rebuild our health system after 12 years of neglect. We will do this by looking after the people who look after us. This evening, I'm incredibly excited to announce that Labor will start planning and construction for a new cultural centre in Eastwood. We will invest $400,000 to get planning underway to start this new cultural centre. It's so important celebrate and honour the many cultures that make up our community, including our fantastic Korean community. I want to invite Anna and Janru to perform at that cultural centre. That was an incredibly moving performance and I was so very impressed. I love this community, Donna loves this community, Jason loves this community. Every one of us in Ryde, Parramatta and Strathfield deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. Labor's vision is to celebrate our community. I will get that cultural centre built. We have a fresh plan to revitalise essential services in this state. We won't privatise assets to pay for it. It's time for a fresh start. Thank you.
Howison, the Labour candidate in Ryde. It's my pleasure now to introduce the Honourable Victor Dominello, Minister for New South Parliament for Liberal Party in Ryde. He is a Senior Minister for New South Wales Government with an impressive portfolio that includes Aboriginal Affairs, Innovation and Finance. He made history in 2019 as the world's first Minister for Customer Service, which encompasses digital government. The exceptional achievement were recognized by Australian newspaper where he was named one of the top 100 innovators in the country in July 2022. He spearheads a world-leading digital identity product based on Web3 principle, giving individuals more control over their personal information. In addition to his passion for digital technology and customer experiences, Victor is also a fan of Batman. He is endorsing Mr. Jordan Lane, the state election candidate for Ryde.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. 안녕하세요. 축하합니다 to all of you for listening to all of us politicians tonight. Can I say, politicians talk a lot. But let me show you things that you can see and that you can touch. Let's go through 12 years here in Ryde, what we've achieved together. This is not talking, this is real. Together, we built Smalls Road Primary School. That's not talk, you can see that. We built Kent Road Primary School. That's like Kent Road University. It looks so good. And again, that's not talk, you can see that. We built Marsden High School, which is down Meadowbank. That's amazing. And that won an International Architecture Prize. And next to that, we built Meadowbank Public School, right next to it. Right next to that, we built $250 million TAFE, a nation-leading facility with the Institute of Applied Technology, which includes Microsoft, Amazon Web Services, the University of Macquarie, University of Technology Sydney, the schools. It's never been done before in the country. That's not talk, you can see that. We've done major upgrades to Eastwood Public School. We've done major upgrades to West Ryde Public School. We've done major upgrades to Epping, or the new school there, just in Epping, the public school there. We've done major upgrades to Denniston East Public School. And when it comes to sporting facilities, you know, a lot of stuff there too. Jordan Lane has spearheaded in saving T.G. Milner open space. He was instrumental in helping us save Macquarie Ice Rink and build the unbelievably great netball facility at Marsden in West Ryde, which will include a PCYC. What else have we done? We built a Northwest Metro. I've got it, you've got it. That's not words, that's action. You can see that. We are going to build or rebuild Ryde Hospital. Almost $500 million in rebuilding Ryde Hospital. I was born there, Jordan was born there. You know, a generation apart. But we both went to primary schools in the area. We both went to Marist Brothers, Eastwood and Marist. I was Marist Brothers when I was there. Marist College when Jordan was there. But Jordan's much better than me because I was never captain, he was captain. When I went to Ryde Council, I was never mayor, he was mayor. Jordan is much better than me and will deliver much more than me. I've only given you an example of what we've done here in Ryde. And I'm not just talking, we're delivering real products, real assets for the community. Now, and have a look what we've done at a state level. I'll give you just two examples. One is the digital transformation that is Service New South Wales. You've all got a service app, I guarantee you. You've probably got a digital driver's license. And because you've come from Korea, you understand technology. It's the great land of Samsung and so many high-tech industry. You don't want New South Wales going backwards. You want New South Wales to continue to lead not just the nation, but the world when it comes to digital service delivery and the mighty Service New South Wales. That happens when you do things. And we've got a great vision for more things to deliver for the people of our state. Now, I'll end on this note. You know, I heard that, you know, the topic of faith was brought up. Now, I'm a Catholic, not a great Catholic, I don't go to church every week, I'll admit that. I know that Jordan's a person of faith. In fact, the Premier's a person of faith. I know Mr. Mintz is a person of faith. There's a lot of people of faith across the political divide. But one thing that is really troubling for me, and it should be for all of us, is gambling harm. Now, on our side, we will introduce a cashless gaming card. No ifs, no buts, no trials, no maybes. It will be introduced. This is a serious problem in community, including Korean and Italian, a whole lot of diverse communities. We will introduce it. No ifs, no buts, no trials. Not only do we support that, the churches support that, the unions support that, the Greens support that, the Independents support that, the Crime Commission supports that, pretty much everyone supports it. That is, in my view, a question of morality. If we do not look after the most vulnerable in our society, if we don't look after public interest instead of vested interest, then what are we doing here? Thank you for listening.
Well, good evening, everybody. And Victor, thank you for that very, very warm welcome. I'll just highlight what an extraordinary period of delivery we have had in this local community. And it's true, Victor's right, he and I have worked together on a lot of those things for a number of years. But can we give him a particular round of applause for the extraordinary amount of work that has happened, not just here in Ryde, but right across this state. Victor is a true reformer, and it is a truly great honour to be able to stand here as a candidate to not only try and continue the legacy that he has left, but to build upon it, because I think our community deserves it and our state deserves it as well. I've gone to a few of these forums, and when I do, I always say what a great honour it is to be here with people that are interested in our democracy, who are interested in the contest of ideas. And I want to acknowledge, of course, the candidates and the members from my own side and from the opposition. We might disagree on things, but I think we're all united in our common view that we want a better future for the state and a better future for our community. I'm also joined here today by some of my council colleagues, and of course the Mayor, Councillor Sarkis Udelian. I saw the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Shweta Deshpande, Councillors Brown, Councillor Lara Watson, Councillor Lee, of course my good friend Councillor Daniel Hahn, and on the other side Councillor Charles Song. He's actually a good bloke, even though we're on different sides of politics, so thank you, Charles, for the work that you've done. It's very exciting to be able to stand and say, oh, Councillor Purcell, how could I forget? He even spoke and I forgot. I do apologise. He's an okay bloke. He's an okay bloke. But ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honour to be able to stand here as a candidate, part of a team that has a truly bright and positive vision for this state. I used to be the Mayor of Ryde Council, and there was nothing better than being able to work collaboratively and in partnership with our local MP and the state government. I think the relationship between a council and the state government is one of the most important you can have for a community, because it allows you to do the resourcing, the delivery of funding, as well as the delivery, which is the on-the-ground operational level delivery. And something that we've been able to do at a local level when I was mayor was the introduction, it was actually Councillor Hahn's idea, the introduction of the Koreatown initiative in Eastwood. It was something, I think it was my first meeting as the mayor where we passed this through, which was a demonstration of our very clear commitment to working closely with this community to harness the great ingenuity and vision and innovation of our Korean community and bring it to the rest of our Ryde community. Because when you go through Eastwood and you explore that eastern side, you realise it is a vibrant hub, it's open at night, there's great business, there's employment, there's opportunity, connectivity. These are the things that we need to continue to invest in, and part of the reason that I'm standing. I've got experience and a track record in this space, and I want to be able to bring that to the state parliament to continue to deliver for this community. But there's more to do. Victor talked about the run sheet. There's a whole host of new initiatives in the pipeline. We've talked about the hospital, $479 million investment in a full rebuild of Ryde Hospital. It's the single biggest health investment that we'll ever see in this community, and it's a place that is not only personal to me as a place that I was born, but it's something that will set this community up well into the future. We've seen more investment in education in this community than ever before. 8 new or rebuilt schools in the last term. We want to build on top of that with new schools in Macquarie Park and Melrose Park to accommodate the growth. Ryde's a great place. People want to live here. They want jobs here. They want to get educated here. We have to provide that infrastructure. We have to create the place for those people to continue to come and to be part of our wonderful community. But how do you do that? You've got to get around. You've got to be able to move. Transport investment is very important. I talked about metros. There's more to do. Of course, we've got road upgrades. If you go to Macquarie Park now, the Silicon Valley of Ryde, of Sydney, you can see huge investments in the interchanges, in our roads, in our intersections. But there's more to do. We want to widen Victoria Road at West Ryde. I live in Meadowbank, and anyone that goes through that area would know that it is one of the worst bottlenecks anywhere in Sydney, not just in Ryde, in Sydney. We've got a plan to address that and continue to make the public transport options for this community better, the traffic better, and to make them more connected and a great place to move around. I'm pleased Victor talked about gambling. I wasn't sure if it was going to come up, but you know, it's one of those things that affects this community as much as it does any other community. Ryde is the highest electorate outside of Western Sydney when it comes to gambling revenue going through pubs and clubs. That's a scary statistic when you think about it. And of course we know that there are a lot of people who are subjected to or are afflicted with gambling addiction. And so that's one arm of why we're doing the reforms that we're doing. But the other side, and where this all came from, this gambling reform, was the idea that the Crime Commission gave, which was for a cashless gaming card to address the scourge of organised crime and money laundering. You may not know this, but poker machines are one of the last bastions available for people to easily launder money. I think that's something that we have an obligation, morally and ethically, and as civic leaders to address. And so that's why we've embarked upon these bold reforms. I'm very, very proud to be part of a party that has made that a priority in this election. It affects this community, it affects all communities in New South Wales, and I'll be a very strong advocate for it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honour to be here and to wrap up the address. I just want to thank again and acknowledge all of the candidates that have been here. For those of you that don't live in Ryde, I'm sorry for going through that list of local Ryde initiatives, but if you do, please consider that at this election we've got a track record. As a mayor, I have an extraordinary record of delivery, and there's so much more to do. So I ask for your confidence in your vote in this election. It's very easy to vote for me. It's a #1 in the top square. I'd ask you for your support. Thank you so much for having me. Have a great night.
Right. All our distinguished guests deserve our sincere gratitude for their unwavering commitment and tireless effort to shaping a better tomorrow. Let's give a big applause to Australian current and future leaders dedicated to positively impacting our society. The Q&A session will facilitated by Mr. Steve Choi, the Vice President of Voice of Korean Australian Businesses, Calling Businessman Association. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. But time-wise, we are going really well. We are only 3 minutes behind. But to make everything very quick, few matters. If time is not, if you guys can ask all the questions, maybe we can, organize a meeting after the election. So if you agree to come over after the election. Okay, that's very much. You guys all heard about that. So the next thing is that okay, few housekeeping matters. After the Q&A session, we are going to have a calling members, have a group porters here, and after that, will the community leaders please come forward, and we are going to take a second photo. I'll be very quick. So this is a Q&A session, and I'll give you our first Q&A session to one of the Korean media, Hano Daily, and they are going to, Mr. Jason Ko from Hano Daily will ask questions.
Thank you, Steve. My name is Jason Ko, editor of Hano Korean Daily. Koreans, Australian in particular, who were born in South Korea are quite familiar with a dictatorship government. They previously experienced a military dictatorship for a long time, and currently we are watching a pseudo-legal government which is mainly controlled by prosecutor-turned politicians who are mad at grabbing political power, totally ignoring parliamentary democracy. Here in Australia, a government dictatorship is not obviously a major issue. However, I reckon the big problem here are the government failure and also malfunctioning market by the duopoly or monopoly system and the greed of big corporations. One example is the current rental crisis kept going on over 20 years, not only in New South Wales and Victoria, all over Australia. The root of the problem is, I think, the government and business corrupt connection. It means government to represent the big corporations' interests, and then big companies look after politicians and their families and their associates for a long time. My question is to Liberal about infrastructure privatization, including energy and transport. If last 10 years trend of privatization continues in the future, our younger generation should worry about fresh air because government may privatize air supply in city as well. So if Liberal re-elected, does next Liberal government continue the current roadmap of privatization for another 4 years? And maybe take to the...
Thanks very much, and Jason and I. The question contains within it a vast amount of opinion in relation to the manner in which government works, and I'd say, first and foremost, and I reject the suggestion that there is a corrupt connection between government and big business in relation to the manner in which government operates. So we have one of the best integrity systems anywhere in Australia, and in fact the integrity system that ICANN operates within is a circumstance which I think we ought to be proud of as a government. But there are a number of things which you identified. And first of all is the rental and housing crisis to the extent which it exists. Both sides in this debate are committed to, in fact, delivering more housing supply. I don't think our opponents would waver from delivering more housing supply, and in fact I think they are committed to an increase in development in suburbs which currently, what they say is, doesn't have sufficient development. So suburbs like potentially Beecroft or whatever it is, they will get what they say is their share of development. So there is a significant deficit of housing supply which impacts on rental availability. However, what I would say is that the track record of the New South Wales government in delivering social housing far outstrips what the previous government ever did in relation to social housing, and the commitment of this government in relation to making sure that we are delivering affordable and social housing is absolutely outstripping anything that has been offered or alternatively which was delivered by them. The second thing I would say in relation to your comments in relation to privatisation. Jason made some comments in respect of essential energy, but he never ever for one moment said that we started it. No one remembers the Christina Keneally late night sessions where she prorogued Parliament to prevent any inquiry in relation to the sale of the Gentrails. That was a Labor initiative. Labor were in fact the beginning and started the electricity privatisation process. Now I don't resile from the fact that we've done it, because in fact what we have done is what every family does. If you have a portfolio of assets, one of the things that you do in relation to your portfolio of assets is you increase your wealth. This government has increased the wealth of this state. We now have $250 billion in assets owned by the people of New South Wales, which it was $100 billion when we came to power. So we have increased every asset, the value of the assets, which all of you own as part of the manner in which we have managed the assets of this state. So whether it's Qantas, which they privatise, whether it's Telstra, which they privatise on a federal level, both sides of government see the value sometimes in privatising assets. Now, you can have a view in respect of whether that would drive down electricity prices or not. The competition in relation to, and everyone in this room would recognise it, that the best way to drive down prices is by way of competition. We have now a competitive energy market. But let me be absolutely clear on one thing. One thing that we are proud of as a government, is the way that we have driven renewable energy reform. And we ought to be able to say that in terms of the future of our children, and it's something I keep coming back to time and time again, is we have your children at the heart of everything that we do. We have the future of energy in this state and the delivery of renewable energy of this state. We have delivered that plan.
Thank you very much. It's a very timely question, and I just will just pick up on some of the things that Damien has said in response to that very learned question about further privatisations. If we talk about what privatisation, and he brought this up about the energy market has proven in terms of competition, the evidence is clear. Do you feel like your energy bills, your power bills are going down or going up? They're going up, and that has a huge impact on small and large and medium businesses and every household in New South Wales. And it's largely because in this state they have privatised energy. And the same thing that they've done to our toll roads, which is why we're paying for those toll roads time over and over and over and over again, straight into the pockets of Transurban executives. And I will just say, and I think it's timely because it's been brought up about privatisation. There is, and sure we can go into the past governments about what past governments have about privatisation, but there is only one party at this election going to the election with the promise of no further privatisations because of the cost of living crisis that we find ourselves in. And let me just address the heckling on the other side when they say there are no plans. I think they'll find that it was revealed tonight in secret Sydney water documents that we got through Parliament that actually they already have sold off a Sydney water plant in Kemps Creek in Western Sydney. So they're already going through the process of privatising Sydney water. Why would you sell Sydney water? Why would you sell water, which we all need, to private interest? Why would you do that? For someone else to make money. That is not in the public interest, and that was revealed tonight that the Perrottet government has already done that, at Kemps Creek, so they're on their way to the privatisation of Sydney water, and that's going to be a critical issue for the next 10 days.
You hear both sides' opinions, so I have a question from the floor.
We want to answer about this one. Sydney water privatization, we want to answer.
You want to answer? Yes. We can go keep going. Okay, I have to be fair.
I'll do that very quickly because it is untrue to say that both sides of politics have not committed to ruling out privatisation. The document which has been relied upon, which has so-called the secret document, was in 2021 There is no secrecy about it. It was a consultancy document in relation to the delivery of a new plant at Kemps Creek. There is no secrecy in relation to that. The delivery of that new plant was the subject of a contract by Sydney Water. There is no plan to privatise Sydney Water. Prue knows it, and she should in fact acknowledge it. And because to continue that lie is in fact does her a disservice. It's a lie to say that there is any proposal to privatise Sydney Water, and I can categorically rule it out tonight.
I know you guys have a lot to say, but read the newspaper. Okay, I have a question from the gentleman over here. So only state-related issues can be asked, by the way. So no other issues that are outside state issues.
I have a question for Susan and Jerome. Canada is accepting 500,000 immigrants each year, which brings huge benefits to Canada. Many Korean Australians have family, parents and friends in Korea who would like to migrate to Australia. Some have been waiting 30 years. What do you think about increasing Australia's immigration to make Australia better?
Okay, I can acknowledge that, but the thing is, I already said that the only state-related issues, I think we have a federal MP, we have no federal MPs here, so state, are you here? I'll have a very quick answer from him, because outside, I'm so sorry, because only state issues I said, but since we have a federal member here, he may just add a quick comment.
Just a reminder, I'm not up for election next week. We've got these lovely people here who are. Look, both my parents were born overseas. They came here not knowing a word of English. It's a similar story shared by nearly everyone in this room. Australia is a successful multicultural migrant nation. Our success has been built on the back of migration. On the back of the Jobs and Skills Summit, we increased the skilled migration cap up to a record level. We've recently made huge improvements in the terms of visa processing. When this government came to power, there was 1 million unprocessed visas when we came to power. That's how broken the former government left our migration system. Absolutely broken. We've now got that number down to less than 500,000, having employed, I think, around 250 extra staff to deal with it. We've increased the skilled migration cap. I'm working closely with Minister Giles and Minister O'Neill to reform the migration system after 10 years of deliberate neglect.
Thank you.
Other question from young boys. Okay, here. I give you a question, and then I give it to you.
Real quick question. I'm a first home buyer. Who should I vote for and why?
Okay, first home buyer here. So she votes for Liberal or Labour? What is your answer? Who wants to answer the question first? Okay, you want to get first? Oh.
Well, you should vote for us, of course. So, of course, under Premier Perrottet, we've seen monumental reform when it comes to first-time buyers getting in the market, where we've actually moved to get rid of stamp duty. So the Labor Party will ensure that there is stamp duty. They might be changing the rate, but on this side of the chamber, you're going to see up to 1.5 million, and if you live in Ryde, if you live in Parramatta, if you live in Strathfield, you're going to find it very difficult to find a property under 1.5 million. But up to 1.5 million, you will see not a stamp duty that you have to pay, but a yearly fee. And the best thing is that Premier Perrottet has actually announced that into the future, if you come onto this scheme, you can actually transfer that to your future property. So it goes with you effectively if you come onto this scheme for your first home. So it is a transformational process, because we know that one of the challenges for people getting into the first home buyer market has been the upfront stamp duty, but also in terms of transferring that property and moving into the next property, it's the additional amount you have to pay on stamp duty. But under this scheme, a yearly property fee, you will only be paying a smaller annual fee rather than paying that big chunk of stamp duty up front. So first home buyers and future first home buyers will be better off with a Liberal National Party.
Thank you very much for your kind explanation on Liberal policy. How about Labour?
Thank you very much. Let's call it for what it is. They call it a small annual fee. It's actually a land tax. So the difference between the Coalition and the Labor Party at their selection is, yes, we are committing to completely remove stamp duty on first home buyer purchases up to $800,000 and a significantly reduced rate up to $1 million for first home buyers. That's people's first home. And we are doing that without replacing it with a new tax. What they're doing it is they're actually introducing the very first stage of a land tax, which Dominic Perrottet himself has said time and time again that he wants to apply to everyone around New South Wales. This is the first stage of a land tax for everyone if the Liberals get re-elected.
Okay, this is a very important issue. Relates to a lot of young people here and also your kids to come. It's a very important issue. You heard what they say about Liberal and the Labour, and it will decide your kids' future too. Okay, you want me to stop here, or you want just more time for you, or because it's time for me to finish? I'm only allowed to speak until 8:30. So, okay, I'll get 2 more questions, and then I'll let you go.
Yes, I'm currently studying to become a teacher. I'm studying education secondary, and obviously, for obvious reason, my primary concern is education. So I've heard that the Labour, so they're decreasing the administrative work and perhaps pay rise. I'm not sure about that one. And I've heard the Liberal, which said building more schools. So I had this friend who also wanted to become a teacher, and later when it became a time to choose degree, he decided to become a psychologist. And I asked him, why would you rather become a psychologist rather than a teacher? And his response was, well, there's not enough school. That's not what the response was. They're not getting paid enough. So I'm asking, how is building more schools gonna be more effective in bringing teachers? What we're having is lack of teachers rather than lack of schools. So I wanted to ask the Liberal for that.
I'll give this time later. To answer first.
The question is for the Liberals.
Really great question. Yes, we do need to build schools where they are needed, but it goes without saying, if you have classrooms you don't have teachers in them, then it doesn't work. And the critical teacher shortage and the fact that what you're saying about your young friend, who's obviously a very bright person and the sort of person we want with you in classrooms, teaching our children. And at the end of the day, there is only one side at this election that's actually acknowledging that there even is a teacher shortage. Their education minister said it was a beat up, that it didn't keep her up at night. Well, I tell you what, if you're the education minister and 3,000 teacher vacancies don't keep you up at night, maybe you're not the right person for the job, in my view. So what we need to do is we need to recruit more teachers and keep them in there. So it's both supply and retention. It's actually working on initial teacher education to get them in. It's actually making sure that teachers are paid more. And what we'll do if we're elected next weekend is we will scrap the unfair wages cap so that teachers, nurses, paramedics, police officers can actually argue for a pay increase for better pay and conditions so we can attract teachers into the noble profession of teaching our children for their future. We'll slash administrative burden for teachers, we'll make sure we slash 5 hours, at least 5 hours a week, and we'll make 10,000 temporary teachers permanent. So they're just some of the things, but I just really would appeal to people that care about the issue of teachers, of course, and our children, is that the current government doesn't even acknowledge that it's a problem, and the era of denial of the teacher shortage must end if we are going to get to the bottom and break the back of this crisis to improve educational outcomes for our children.
Well, that's the alternative education minister. She was asked this morning, what is it going to cost the state of New South Wales if you in fact remove the wage cap in relation to public service and the teaching profession? Now, I'm all for paying teachers more money, and in fact we have a proposal which in fact says for productivity outcomes you will get additional additional pay, additional income. The shadow minister could not tell us what it would cost. Now, the reason why Labor never ever deliver anything is that they do not know what it costs. And that's the problem with Labor, is that they do not understand that if you don't run your business properly and know what you're paying your employees, then you can't deliver anything else. Now, what I say to you is this. I love the fact that you are wanting to become a teacher. And in fact, I want you to be the best teacher. The best teacher. Because what do? We have a program that says we will pay our best more. And in fact, what we have done is we have the vision to say that we ought to be encouraging people to be the best possible teachers. And the way we run any business, we pay our best employees the most. And I want you to be the best teacher possible, because you will have under our government the opportunity of being paid what you deserve. So what I would sum up by saying is this, is that A, we do value teachers, but secondly I would say this, there is a shortage of employees everywhere. I'll bet that there is not a business in this room who could identify themselves and say that they're not competing for employees. Everyone is competing for employees. We have a very, very tight labour market, and the teaching profession is not immune from that problem. We acknowledge that. But that's the problem which exists not only in New South Wales, it exists across Australia, is the shortage of employees. We have, in fact, a plan to make sure that we do employ sufficient teachers, we do pay them properly, we do offer productivity improvements in relation to their opportunities to be paid more. The blanket decision to abolish the wage cap and just allow a free approach to wage increases is going to mean one thing. And I want you to remember this. If you take one thing out of tonight, one thing. If you elect a Labor government, there is lots they haven't told you about, and it will mean more taxation for you. There is no doubt, and we have seen it at a federal level. They never told you about superannuation. But they just introduce it. Now, it might be the right thing to do. You might have a view in relation to it. But there is an obligation to tell us what taxation they will introduce to raise the shortfall in revenue that they will have by this policy of abolishing the wage cap. So, one thing to take out of tonight. An elected Labor government will cost every single one of you more because of the impact on the taxation which they must raise to fulfil the obligations which they are committing to.
And that's from the former Minister for Finance.
Okay, so decision is yours. Decision is yours, and I feel like I'm watching Parliament in live, so which is great. Which is great. We have this kind of opportunity. Is it okay for me to give it because I want to? Okay, I'll give you another. Okay.
I'm going to be very, very brief, but I'm just going to say this. I'm sorry, but I'm going to call it for what it is. They are so desperate to hold on to government that they just come to these forums in front of you and they're just lying. Yeah. There are no plans to increase taxation, to pay for an increase in wages for teachers, nurses and police. And let's just be really clear here. When we are talking about the abolition of the wage cap and all the commitments that we are taking to the people of New South Wales, and I'm proud to take the abolition of the wages cap because it means that people like your mate don't want to be a teacher and we need them to be teachers. But all our policies, as with all the government policies, are independently costed by the Parliamentary Budget Office and they will all be available on Monday. And that is the system in our democracy. Damien knows it. They are so desperate to win this election after 12 years of scandal and ministers leaving and, you know, that they just lie to get through these community forums. And I'm going to tell you something. If they want to get up here at every community forum and try and explain their way around the fact that we don't have a teacher shortage and that every business in New South Wales is struggling with shortages of workers, the difference is when it's our schools, it's the government's responsibility and it matters for our kids. That's the difference. It's not any other business. It's your children. It's our children, and whether they have a teacher in front of them. So this is the choice that you have at this election next Saturday and next week at pre-poll. A government that says it's okay to have 3,000 teacher vacancies, and an alternative that says we have to acknowledge it's a problem and do something about it.
Labour leaders the word, so there will be no tax increases. So
we'll see.
I have two hands raised here. I'll go for the lady over here, and I'll finish with the last one. But only state-related issues again, and then can you be very quick, please?
저는 영어를 안 하고 한국말로 할 테니까 누가 통역 좀 해주세요. 왜냐하면은 제 잉글리시는 못하겠어요. 지금 계속 에듀케이션에 관해서 얘기를 굉장히 많이 들었어요.
네.
이쪽은 에듀케이션 티처가 부족한 거하고 저기는 스쿨한다. 아까 저 학생이 말한 것처럼 그렇게 얘기했는데 저는 비즈니스를 하는 사람이에요. 네. 비즈니스 하는 사람으로서 계속적으로 저희가 걱정되는 거는 웨이지가 자꾸만 올라가고 인건비가 자꾸만 올라가는 것 때문에
잠깐만 끊어주세요. You guys talked about education, that which is good, but she is a business lady, business person. She is worried about increasing wages currently at the moment. So continue.
그다음에 계속적으로 사람들이 그 웨이지를 올리고 그 좋은 일을 하려고 하는데 제가 걱정하는 거는 계속적으로 그런 거에 대한 펀드가 어디서 나오냐는 거죠. 그 돈이 어디서 나와서 그 많은 사업들을 다 잘 할 것인지 그게 궁금해서 그게 저희들의 생활에 얼마만큼 영향을 미칠까 그게 궁금합니다.
The question is, she is not opposed to increasing wages, but how you gonna fund the wage increase? That's the question. You guys did the first, and this now I give it to you. Anyone wants to? Okay.
If there's no new taxes that they're telling you, there's only one way, and you're paying for all these additional wages, there's only one way you can do it, and that is by cutting projects. Victor's already outlined everything that this government has achieved in Ryde and delivered. New schools, Walls Road. New hospitals, what we're building in Ryde Hospital. All of that is at risk if you blow the wages cap. The wages cap in New South Wales has been a smart and sensible way to keep wages under control. And it's not just something that a Liberal government does. The wages cap in Victoria is actually lower than what it is in New South Wales. And for every single one of you in business, you know that you don't want to have wages spiralling out of control. Now Labor has said that they will jeopardise all of that restraint, all of that fiscal restraint, an $11 billion black hole by abolishing the wages cap. By giving in to the unions, which are their masters. The unions that have run the Labor Party, and the unions which sit on their administrative committee, choose who their candidates are, and choose their campaigns. So, if the wages cap is abolished, you will pay. You will pay one way or another. You'll either pay through higher taxes, or you'll pay through less services, and less being delivered for all of our communities, so that we don't have that great infrastructure record which we're seeing in Ryde, in Strathfield, in Parramatta.
Thank you very much. You will be delighted to answer the second.
Yes. Thank you. That's another desperate lie from the Liberals. Surprise, surprise, it's a theme emerging here, isn't there? But how we will pay for any increase in wages that result from arbitration in the industrial relations system, because what we're saying is we're going to scrap the wages cap and replace it with a fair arbitration system so that public service workers can argue for better pay and conditions. We're not going to an election saying we're going to give teachers this much percent and nurses this much percent. But we've been very clear time and time again. Chris Minns, our leader, Daniel Mookie, our Shadow Treasurer, and myself as Education Shadow Minister, we've been very clear time and time again. We will pay for this using budget savings and productivity measures, and we are the ones actually going to this election saying we will make the hard choices to fund the things that we believe are priorities for this state, like teachers and nurses. Because we actually do need teachers in our classrooms and nurses in our emergency departments. And we have said no, we're not going through with things so we can make those hard choices. It's actually the Liberals and the Nationals that have unfunded election promises, and they keep saying they won't privatise, yet they're already privatising Sydney Water. So in terms of in terms of which side is a financial risk for the people of New South Wales, we know what they do. They privatise, and your bills go up.
Okay. Last one from the gentleman over there.
Yeah, I'm pleased to actually ask this last question actually for the Labor candidates. The constant message I get from you is that privatisation is a bad idea, but everyone will have to agree that actually, Metro Line project actually was much needed actually project for New South Wales. If you get elected on the next election, how would you fund project like Metro Line? I mean, which may cost actually $1 billion actually to fund. How would you actually fund this type of project?
Okay, this question is to the Labour candidates, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, anyone can answer? Thank you very much for all the questions.
That's a fair question. That's a fair question. And like I said with the wages cap, we've been very clear. Firstly, all of our costings will be available as independently costed by the Parliamentary Budget Office, and that is required, as will they will cost the Liberals and Nationals commitments. So they will be available for everyone to see. And we will make sure that everything we commit to at this election, so that people can make an informed choice, is budgeted for, will be paid through budget savings and productivity measures. There will not be unfunded election commitments. Anything you hear from the other side about black holes is just a desperate lie. We're actually being extremely fiscally responsible, and we will do it without privatising Sydney Water, and they, hand on heart, cannot say the same.
Okay, I give the last opportunity to respond.
That's great. That's great. I've already said it once. There is no plan to privatise Sydney Water. You don't have to. I can say it till I'm black and blue, and she won't accept it. But let me just answer that. That is a really perceptive question, because when Labor was in power, they promised the delivery of the metro 4 times. They'd bring out a new glossy brochure and say, we're going to deliver the metro. They're going to deliver the metro. They're going to deliver the metro. And many of you here may recall they were going to deliver the Rozelle light rail. You know what happened? You know what happened? They had to pay the money back to the people that they had acquired land from. $800 million it cost the people of New South Wales, and you got nothing. Nothing. And that's the reason why we run the state in a way where we retain a AAA credit rating. We have in fact funded all the projects that we have in fact embarked upon, and we have in fact transformed the state. No one can deny, and Victor went through a litany of what we had done in Ryde, but you can take that to every electorate in the state. And we have done the same, whether it's schools, whether it's hospitals, whether it's roads. We have transformed this state, and we've done it in circumstances where we've had bushfires, we've had floods, we've had pandemics, and we have still been able to maintain a AAA credit rating unlike any other jurisdiction in this country. So if you want to ask, who are better financial managers? Who has an economic plan for this state? There is only one side of politics that has it. They talk the jargon, they don't deliver the outcomes.
What was the cost blown out on the metro?
Thank you very much for coming tonight. And thank you very much for our Labour